December 20th, 1976, Memphis. Elvis walks into a jewelry store at 2 a.m. to buy a gift for his girlfriend. 3 hours later, he spent $100,000 on diamonds for complete strangers he just met in the parking lot. December 1976. If you lived in Memphis in December 1976, you knew Elvis's habits. He was nocturnal by then, sleeping during the day, coming alive at night. When normal people were going to bed, Elvis was just waking up. And when Elvis got an idea at 2 a.m., well, nothing was going to stop him. December was always a special time for Elvis. Christmas shopping, giving gifts, making people happy. It brought out something generous in him that went beyond his usual charity. During the holidays, Elvis became almost manic about buying presents, spending money like it would evaporate if he didn't use it immediately. Pause ones. On the night of December 20th, 1976, Elvis was at Graceland with his girlfriend, Ginger Alden. He'd been dating her for a few months, and he wanted to buy her something special for Christmas, something that showed how much she meant to him. Around 2 a.m., Elvis made a decision. "Let's go look at rings," he told Ginger. Ginger laughed. "Elvis, it's 2 in the morning. Everything's closed." Elvis grinned. "Not if I call ahead." He picked up the phone and called Lowell Hayes, the owner of Lowell Hayes Jewelry Store on Poplar Avenue. Lowell had known Elvis for years, had sold him countless pieces over time. He was used to Elvis's late-night shopping impulses. "Lowell," Elvis said when the jeweler answered, "I need to see some rings. Can you open the store for me?" Lowell Hayes, still half asleep, checked his clock. 2:15 a.m. "Elvis, I'll be there in 30 minutes. The jewelry store. By 3 a.m., Lowell Hayes had opened his jewelry store on Poplar Avenue. He'd turned on the lights, unlocked the cases, and prepared a selection of engagement rings for Elvis to consider. This wasn't the first time he'd opened in the middle of the night for Elvis. Probably wouldn't be the last. Elvis arrived with Ginger, along with a small entourage, his security team, a few members of the Memphis Mafia. They walked into the store like it was the middle of a normal business day. "Show me what you've got," Elvis said, his eyes bright with excitement. Lowell brought out rings, diamond solitaires, emerald cuts, settings in platinum and gold. Elvis studied each one carefully, holding them up to the light, imagining them on Ginger's finger. While Elvis was looking at rings, something was happening outside in the parking lot. A small crowd was gathering. Even at 3 a.m., word traveled fast in Memphis when Elvis was out. People who'd been driving by, night shift workers, insomniacs. They saw the lights on in the jewelry store and Elvis's cars parked outside. They stood in the parking lot, hoping to catch a glimpse, not pushing to get in, not demanding anything, just wanting to see Elvis, to be close to something magical in their ordinary lives. The couple in the parking lot. Then Elvis notices something that changes the entire night. Among the people gathering outside was a young couple, Tommy and Linda Henderson, both 24 years old, recently married, working-class folks who were driving home from Tommy's late shift at the FedEx facility. They'd pulled into the parking lot out of curiosity, expecting nothing more than maybe seeing Elvis walk out to his car. But as they stood there, Elvis happened to glance out the store window and saw them, actually saw them, made eye contact. And then Elvis did something that surprised everyone. He walked to the door and opened it. "Y'all waiting out there in the cold?" he called out. "Come on in, it's warmer." The small crowd hesitated, uncertain if the invitation was real. Elvis waved them in. "Come on, don't be shy. If you're going to wait around, might as well be comfortable." About 8 people shuffled into the jewelry store, including Tommy and Linda Henderson. They stood awkwardly near the door, not sure what to do or say. You don't exactly rehearse what to say when Elvis Presley invites you into a jewelry store at 3 a.m. Elvis walked over to them, friendly as could be. "Y'all doing some late-night shopping too?" he joked. Tommy laughed nervously. "No, sir, just saw you were here. Wanted to say hello, I guess." Elvis noticed Linda's hand in Tommy's, noticed the simple gold band on her finger. "You married?" "Yes, sir," Linda said quietly. "About 6 months now." 6 months, still newlyweds. That's wonderful. Elvis paused, studying the ring on her finger. It was plain, thin, the kind of ring you buy when you're young and broke and in love. "That your wedding ring?" Linda nodded, suddenly self-conscious. It's not much, but it's ours. Pause. Ones. Something in Elvis's expression changed. He understood immediately what that ring represented. Young love without money, dreams bigger than bank accounts. He'd been there himself once, before the fame, before the fortune. "Lowell," Elvis called out. "Come here for a second." Pause. Ones. The shopping spree begins. What happens next shocks even the jewelry store owner. Elvis turned to Linda. "Pick out a ring. Any ring in this store, whatever one you want." Linda's mouth fell open. What? "A wedding ring. A real one. Something beautiful, my gift to you." Tommy started to protest. "Elvis, we can't accept—" "Sure you can," Elvis interrupted. "I just decided I'm playing Santa Claus tonight. Now pick out a ring before I pick one for you." Linda, tears already forming in her eyes, walked over to the display cases. Her hands were shaking as she pointed to a modest diamond ring, not the biggest in the store, not the most expensive, just something prettier than what she had. "That one," she whispered. Elvis looked at the ring, looked at Lowell. "That's the one she wants?" Lowell nodded. "Good," Elvis said. "We'll take it." He paused, thinking. "Actually, we'll take two. One for each hand, and throw in some earrings that match." Then Elvis looked at the other people who'd come in from the parking lot. A middle-aged woman who'd been crying quietly since Elvis invited her in. An elderly man in a janitor's uniform, a young black woman who worked as a nurse, a couple of college students. "Anybody else here need jewelry?" Elvis asked. What happened next became legendary in Memphis. Elvis went around the store talking to each person, asking their stories, finding out who they were, what they did, whether they were married, dating, or single. And then he started buying rings for married couples, necklaces for single women, watches for men. He wasn't just grabbing things randomly. He was thoughtful about it, matching pieces to people, making sure each gift felt personal. The janitor mentioned his wife's birthday was next week. Elvis bought her a pearl necklace. The nurse said her daughter was graduating nursing school. Elvis bought her a gold bracelet. The college students were dating. Elvis bought them matching watches. If you ever had a random encounter with a celebrity that changed your perspective, share it in the comments. And if you're discovering just how generous Elvis really was, hit that subscribe button. We have so many more stories about his spontaneous kindness. The escalation. Lowell Hayes watched in amazement as Elvis moved through his store like a man possessed by the spirit of Christmas itself. Every few minutes, Elvis would call out, "Lowell, add this to the bill, and this too." But then Elvis noticed something. More people were gathering outside. Word had spread through the Memphis night. Elvis was at Lowell Hayes' jewelry store, and apparently he was giving away jewelry. "Looks like we've got more company," Elvis said, peering out the window. There were maybe 20 people outside now. Some had been driving by. Some had heard from friends. Some had been at nearby diners and bars and rushed over when they got the news. Elvis looked at Lowell. "How much inventory you got here?" Lowell, starting to realize where this was going, said carefully, "Elvis, I've got a lot of pieces. But if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, open the door," Elvis said. "Let them in. All of them." Pause. For the next 2 hours, Lowell Hayes' jewelry store became something unprecedented. A cross between a jewelry store, a party, and a miracle. Elvis held court, talking to everyone who came in, listening to their stories, buying them gifts. A single mother who worked 2 jobs got a diamond pendant. An elderly couple celebrating their 50th anniversary got new wedding bands. A young man about to propose got a ring far nicer than anything he could have afforded. Elvis wasn't just throwing money around randomly. He was connecting with people, learning their names, hearing about their lives, making each person feel seen, valued, important. The final tally. By sunrise, word spreads across Memphis about the craziest shopping spree in history. By 6 a.m., the sun was starting to rise over Memphis. Elvis had been in the jewelry store for over 3 hours. He'd met dozens of people. He'd given away diamonds, gold, pearls, watches, everything Lowell had in stock. Lowell Hayes, exhausted but exhilarated, tallied up the final bill. He double-checked the numbers, triple-checked them. Then he walked over to Elvis with a piece of paper. "Elvis," Lowell said quietly, "the total is $102,000. In 1976, that was a staggering amount of money, equivalent to nearly $500,000 today, enough to buy several houses, enough to fund someone's retirement." Elvis looked at the number and shrugged. "Okay, write it up." He pulled out his checkbook and wrote a check for the full amount without hesitation, handed it to Lowell like it was nothing more significant than a tip at a restaurant. "Elvis," Lowell said, "are you sure about this?" Elvis smiled. "Lowell, it's Christmas. These people needed a little magic in their lives. That's worth more than money." As people started filtering out of the store, clutching their jewelry boxes like they held the crown jewels, many of them were crying, not just because of the gifts, though those were incredible, but because Elvis had treated them like they mattered, like they were worth his time, like their stories were interesting and their lives had value. Tommy and Linda Henderson left with 3 pieces of jewelry worth more than Tommy made in a year. Linda kept saying, "This isn't real. This can't be real." But it was real. The rings on her fingers proved it. The aftermath. And 50 years later, those strangers still have the diamonds Elvis gave them. The story hit the Memphis newspapers the next day. Elvis's all-night shopping spree, 100 moons in jewelry given to strangers. The national media picked it up. People magazine ran a feature. The story became part of Elvis legend. Colonel Parker was furious, of course. $102,000 in one night, Elvis? Have you lost your mind? But Elvis didn't care. "I made a lot of people happy, Colonel. That's what matters." The people who received jewelry that night treasured their gifts for the rest of their lives. Linda Henderson wore her ring every single day until she died in 2019 at age 67. In her will, she left specific instructions. The ring Elvis gave her should be buried with her. It was too precious to pass on. It needed to go with her. Tommy Henderson, interviewed in 2015, said, "People ask if the ring was valuable. Of course it was. It was a diamond. But the real value wasn't the stone. It was the memory. It was Elvis seeing us, 2 broke kids trying to make it and deciding we deserved something beautiful. That changed how I saw myself, how I saw what was possible as ones." The nurse who got the bracelet for her daughter, that daughter still wears it. She's a doctor now, running a clinic in Memphis that provides free care to uninsured families. She says Elvis's random act of generosity inspired her to pay it forward for the rest of her life. The elderly couple who got new wedding bands, they wore them until they died within months of each other in 1994. Their children still have the rings, displayed in a shadow box with a photo of their parents and a newspaper clipping about that night, why it mattered. Elvis gave away cars, houses, money, jewelry throughout his life. The jewelry store spree wasn't unique in that sense, but it revealed something essential about who Elvis was. He didn't need a charity organization or a publicist or a tax write-off to be generous. He didn't need a reason beyond, "These people could use something beautiful in their lives, and I can provide it." For Elvis, money was just a tool, a way to create moments of joy, a way to make people feel valued in a world that often made them feel invisible. That night in December 1976, Elvis could have bought Ginger her ring and left, could have ignored the people in the parking lot, could have kept his $102,000, and no one would have blamed him. Instead, he invited strangers into a jewelry store at 3 a.m. and gave them gifts they'd treasure forever. Not because it made financial sense, not because it was good publicity, because it made him happy to make other people happy. That's the Elvis story that matters, not the Vegas shows or the gold records, the late-night jewelry spree, the spontaneous generosity, the impulse to share his good fortune with people who had none of their own. On December 20th, 1976, Elvis Presley spent $102,000 in 3 hours buying jewelry for complete strangers. By any rational standard, it was excessive, impulsive, financially irresponsible. But the people who were there that night, who received those unexpected gifts, will tell you it was one of the most meaningful experiences of their lives. If this story showed you something new about Elvis, share it. Share it with anyone who thinks generosity has to be planned and structured. Sometimes the most meaningful gifts are the spontaneous ones. Subscribe for more untold Elvis stories that reveal the heart behind the legend. Because the more you learn about what Elvis did when nobody was watching, the more you understand what real kindness looks like. And if you can, do something spontaneously generous today. Buy a stranger's coffee, pay for someone's groceries, leave a big tip. Elvis would want you to. Thank you for watching.